You're listening to Raising Anchor on 990 WBOB. Welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show with Matt Entrigan and Jason Carey. Your home for news, analysis, and everything Rhode Island FC. Each week, they take you inside the locker room, inside the tactics, and inside the storyline shaping RIFC. Now, here's Matt and Jason.
That's right. We are live, officially coming off of the Saudi Arabia-Uruguay game, ending 1-1, and doing a live podcast in the middle of World Cup action and World Cup fever. Listen, if you were watching the Brazil-Morocco game last weekend, you missed Rhode Island FC Conquer Loudoun United 4-1, in a win during that action on the weekend. We're going to unpack this historic victory for Rhode Island FC and discuss, one, why this team isn't higher in the standings, what's in store for this club during this break, and how is that going to impact the momentum that they've started to create as they have seen back-to-back wins for the first time in this 2026 campaign. We're going to talk a little bit of World Cup, because why not? I mean, we're right between two matches as we speak, strategically positioned to be able to do this. And I think it's only fair we talk about the biggest sporting tournament to ever hit our shores. Back in action, of course, as always, is Mr. Jason Carey. Jason, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, but simultaneously exhausted. This is going to be a tournament. It's going to challenge our sleep schedules.
You know what's funny is we were talking about this the other night, and it didn't dawn on me until we got into the nooks and crannies of exploring this World Cup. Didn't realize that despite this being a host nation, we are still succumbing to some very terrible watch times. 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, trying to work and be able to watch these games, but then having a 12 a.m. game from the East Coast side of things. I would have thought that, I know we are already afflicted with that when it comes to like Eastern, Western Coast sports, NBA finals, whatever. But I kind of thought for the World Cup, we'd have games more strategically positioned right in the middle, so that at least as a host nation, we wouldn't have a 12 a.m. pajama party to watch Tunisia versus Japan.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, are they trying to be favorable to kind of the rest of the world in regards to what their watch times are? I haven't put too much thought into that, but it could be. I mean, especially considering the hydration breaks that are actually just commercial breaks now. So I don't know. It is a little weird the way that they time those. Be interesting to see what the timelines are going to look like for the next one, Portugal, Morocco, Spain. Are they all going to be late at night or?
Well, the 9 o'clock Scotland-Haiti game saw my entire feed has been invaded by the Tartan Army, and saw a bunch of Scots that didn't get to make it to America for the game, talking about how they had never been more, let's say, intoxicated in their life at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. I don't believe that from a Scottish side of things, but massive win for Scotland over Haiti. Overall thoughts on the tournament so far?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, we only just had our first 0-0 draw today. We've seen plenty of goals.
42 goals so far. I think that's a record for any World Cup before the first round is over in the group stage.
And despite the annoying, commercial break thing that they've been doing, you could also just watch Telemundo. They don't do that. But I've kind of liked the changes. None of the games have really dragged. There's definitely been a few where it took a little while for the teams to get in, but then you saw really exciting second halves where they kind of opened up there. And they're really keeping the game flowing. So far so good. I'm having a blast.
I think one of the big changes, and we've seen it with the way players take injuries, is they do not stay down on the pitch anymore. I think we've had 3 games where they've had to apply the minute of you're off to the sideline waiting to come back into the game. It's been kind of enjoyable to because you've seen in so many, I'm thinking back to CONCACAF matches where you get to those last 10 minutes of a match, and when one team's holding on, it's just injury after injury, fatigue after fatigue, a stretch here. I really have enjoyed the pace to that point. I also think, though, the level of competition, we just watched the Saudi game, and I think everyone thought Uruguay was the shoe-in, and, the kudos to the KSA. They were putting it to them for the entirety of all 90 minutes. It tells you that the quality of these teams are elevating all across. I don't think we can continue to just say that, oh, these are always going to be the best teams, whether it's in Europe, South America, North America, Asia. other teams are starting to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, so far the expansion has done well in that regards, that even some of the smaller teams have like showed up in a big way. Sure, Curacao maybe got a little hammered there,
Brazil.
but for them to get that goal, to kind of keep it alive there for a moment too, and you saw how their fans were elated. I mean, you've seen the joke on Twitter about, he's like, I can't even score against Neuer in FIFA. And yet he did it in real life. I mean, and then the story earlier with Cape Verde holding Spain to
big moment.
Like
people don't realize just yet that the first 0-0 of the tournament might actually have dire consequences for Spain down the stretch, depending on positioning.
Yeah, and that was in no way, shape, or form a boring 0-0 draw. I mean, Spain was putting on work there to make them really earn that draw. And then, Cape Verde, when they got the chance, they were adventurous.
Yep.
I mean, they ultimately didn't have that kind of final touch to get a complete upset, but they didn't make it easy for Spain.
Spain should maybe play their starters to the beginning of a game and not disrespect their opponents. We've also had some drama around the first separation of a coach in this World Cup. So like, I don't know what you do when you only have 3 games and you say, hey, we can't even keep our gaffer for the entirety of those 3 group stage matches, but Tunisia's head coach departs the club after a thumping from Sweden and a 5-1. Again, if you stayed up late enough to watch that game, it was quite the great time for, if you're a Swedish fan or just you want to see a team get murdered.
Just a neutral getting to watch some goals.
Before we get into Rhode Island stuff, I want to ask you this question though: what's been the most impressive match of the tournament so far for you? Maybe the performance, maybe it was a particular goal. What game is resonating with you more than anything right now?
Ooh. I mean, I have to side with the fact that the Scotland-Haiti, it maybe wasn't the best match, but attending it in person is something very special, like no other match. So that's kind of going to be the match I always go back to. If we think maybe quality, it's tough to say right now.
It's got to be Netherlands, Japan.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. That was a great match. I mean, also on a heart to the USA match, just because of that was maybe the single best US performance I think I've ever seen, and maybe even in their history. If you go back, if not the best, like a top 3 game ever.
And you finally get to tell the world you're a Reina apologist, as you've been shouting from the rooftops for decades. Clearly,
yeah.
Greg Berhalter, you'll never see
Gio to come on there and score such a fantastic goal outside of the boot there. It was so sick.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that Luna wasn't there to maybe give him the assist there or something, but maybe next tournament we'll see.
Luna would have scored all of those goals. That's all that matters. Real fast then, you talked about the World Cup. We did get the privilege of going to the Scotland-Haiti game. I won't wax on it too much, but you're right. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I challenge anyone, if you're looking at prices, it's just money. Sell a kidney, donate blood, donate something, sell a car, whatever you have to do. But it truly was special. And it wasn't just the Scottish. I mean, the Tartan Army did show up. They are continuing to show up. There's going to be a march next week, right before the June 19th game. But even the Haitians, they showed up in force too, and they were having a blast. And that game was close. Haiti was in it for a majority of that game as well. It was never Scotland's to run away with. But hearing Boogie Oogie at the end of that game, I didn't know I had a favorite song in my life, and it's either that or I would walk 500 miles by the Proctor. So life is complete, Jason. We don't even need to do the show anymore. It's over now.
Oh, that's weird. We're just done, I guess. Okay, let's wrap it up.
As for watch parties, I know we've been talking about places we've been going. I will just give a shout out to G-Pub. They've been doing a lot to host both the Tartan Army, making sure that the TVs are all going, the food is flowing. Drinks could flow a little faster, but it's been doing well. And a fan zone. I didn't think it was going to be well coordinated. I thought it came together very last minute. The PVD fan zone is an incredible experience. So if you've been thinking about going to a game there, highly recommend you do, but maybe wait till it gets dark, because those daylight games in that 80 to 90 degree weather with humidity has been a bit much unless you're lubricating. So just take that for what it's worth. And then we did confirm, if you are interested in going to any of the 12 a.m. games, we are going to the Tunisia-Japan game at High Motor. So for those of you that have been trying to find a place to go and partake in enjoying that match out in the wild, will be there with I think we've already got like 5 or 6 Defiance members who have locked in with us. So something to think about. Any final thoughts on watch parties before we get into the real stuff, which is Rhode Island FC?
No, let's just jump into RFC so then we can get back to this World Cup.
All right. So listen, we won a game, Jason, but we didn't move on the table. We moved on the table, and then we moved right back into the table positioning.
It's crazy. So RFC crossed the playoff line threshold early into the weekend, but just for a brief moment there, Hartford went and did the impossible. I honestly, because of the World Cup, I was paying attention to the Rhode Island game to see what's happening, but I did not look at any of the other league scores and come back later to see that they actually gave Tampa Bay their first loss at Ally. That is insane. So because of that, RFC are still in ninth. Like you said, not moving anywhere on the table, up to 15 points now. But it's still like we're broken record. We're just going to keep saying this, but it is still very tight. They're still just 2 points out of playoff and 6 points out of 4 position. That's just 2 wins. So it's unless you are Tampa or you're, maybe Jacksonville at the very bottom, like they're
running the wrong directions there.
It's still very open there in the middle. So I think it's anyone's game. So I wouldn't be too concerned just yet.
It's funny you mentioned, and the Hartford stuff it just disgusts me. I hate having to even bring it up. They have defender, goalkeeper of the year, potential honors coming their way. Now they upset Tampa at Al Lang too.
They didn't even score a goal for a whole month. I mean,
it's okay. We have a question in the mailbag tonight that's going to come back, and we're going to be able to rain on Hartford's parade a little bit. But until then, talking about Jacks for a second, you mentioned something, and it came up to my mind. We look at the table standings, and you talk about how tight the Eastern Conference really is this season. I didn't realize it until just now that Tampa Bay, Miami, and Detroit have all gone through Sporting Jacks for both their home and away legs or fixtures of the season. So we talk about that
someone's
benefit.
Stat padding there.
Unfortunately, again, we are one of the few teams that has not been able to accomplish that. But it reminds me of the first year where when we were first watching the league in 23, and Hartford was kind of the kicking bag, right? And we said, guaranteed 2 wins. The first season we entered the league, it was Miami, and we did that in our fan appreciation game. So it's interesting to see some of these teams all take advantage of seeing a win or even 2 so far against Sporting Jacks. What that tells me, though, is that they've got until September when we see them to right their ship. They'll figure it out and everything will be fine. You said something also, though, a second ago about how we're 6 points basically away from a 4th place positioning. Got to tell fans that they need to maybe pump the brakes a little bit. Because we have a bye and we have the coordinated mental health week, we aren't playing until July 4th. A lot of our fans know that. What they might not realize is that it's not a league, 2 to 3 week break. Other teams are playing multiple games during this World Cup cycle. That's why USL is not respecting the international calendar or the FIFA window here. So while unfortunately it feels like we're knocking on the door of both cracking into the playoffs and then also maybe making a jump deeper into 4th or 5th place, unfortunately, the teams below us in Loudoun and Birmingham both have enough matches, and they both have 3 matches. One of them is against each other, but they also have enough points available that should they win all of their games and then draw, or even if one team wins and the other team loses, both teams could jump us. So by the time we get back into USL Championship action, we could be back in 11th position, despite the fact we're coming off of back-to-back wins, simply because we haven't played games in 3 weeks. Brooklyn could even catch us on points. We'd still have the tiebreaker. Otherwise, we'd be sitting in 12th, second to last, right behind or right in front of Sporting Jacks. And there's nothing we can do about it.
It's hilarious. What else can you do? I mean, you look back and think, man, maybe we wanted some of those matches, and to think that we could be as low as 11th and also be like the second best offense in the country right now, or in the league, I should say. It's
probably the country too. It's US. They got a 4-1.
Yeah.
We got a 4-1. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
We're right there, right behind them. Is this just setting us up then for it's probably going to be a slog, but that second half kind of comeback that we, have seen the last 2 years?
It's going to have to be, right? Because of the way the schedule is going to work. And if you think about, okay, well, where do we make these games up? Where do those games in hand work for us or work against us? There's 3 weeks where there's midweek games that would help us close the gap. We do have one immediately coming back in the beginning of July, so we'll have a 3-game in 7 days set. But then the next 2 are in September, second week of September, and then third week of October. Last week when we were talking with Ryan Davis, we asked, like, where is the toughest part of the schedule? It still remains. That last October month is really going to be a test, because despite not only being tough opposition, in addition to that might be that point where we need that game in hand to go our way. And games in hand are only good on the stat line until you win said game. So imagine where we're possibly in like a 6th place pole position. We have the points available because of games in hand to get to 4th or 3rd, but then we've got to go through getting wins against teams like Pittsburgh or Tampa. Tampa's not in the mix at that point, but we could have some stiff opponents. It's gonna feel like we're either chasing down something.
Even Hartford could play spoiler on the last day of the season, depending on how close it is.
Could you imagine if Hartford is the team that gets to set up to try to take us out of a home playoff berth? Like, just the diabolicalness of it. But yeah, it's going to be a weird time, and it's why really we can't wait till September when we can start catching up those games, because other teams are going to go through their buys, and we'll eventually start to even things out. We really need to see this team take the next step when it comes to this July-August corridor. I don't think we want to be asking ourselves in September, is it still within reach, just because we have a couple extra games going our way. But when we got to go to break, and when we return, we're going to break down how Coach Cano completed this roster for the game against Loudoun and talk about some of the biggest talking points in that match, all here on the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Thank you for listening to tonight's broadcast, powered by Sprout Coworking. For all your business needs, large or small, visit sproutcoworking.com. Powering 990 WBOB, that's sproutcoworking.com.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrickett and Jason Carey.
All right, getting into this game, we're going to talk about our initial impressions here in a moment. Obviously, we were splitting duty between that Brazil-Morocco game and the Loudoun match, so we had to kind of go back and watch this again. First thing that we were still tweeting live as it was happening. First surprise of the night, though, this starting 11. I think that has to be the loudest talking point of the night. And the weirdest thing is it worked when you look at the scoreline. With no graphics, it's World Cup time, but walk listeners through who we saw on the night.
Yeah, so we had Koke Vegas there in net with a back four of Nick Scardina, Karifa Yao, Grant Stoneman, and Frank Nodarse. Holding midfielders there, Clay Olstad, Ugo Bacharach. Your attacking midfielders of Jose Quizera, Amos Shapiro-Thompson, and Augustine Rodriguez, with JJ Williams up top there.
So we'll talk about Frank Nodarse at length, because it was the biggest mailbag question we got unrelated to the World Cup. But I do want to talk more about why we thought Aldair Sanchez wouldn't have gotten in this. And are we surprised to see Frank go from right back to left center back to now to left back to? I mean, he's obviously a utility player, and he did well on the night. But when it was all working with Sanchez, unless there's something we don't understand about Sanchez's game, if you're Cano Smith, why are you rotating your back line like this?
I don't know. I think, like I said, I was a little initially surprised by the lineup too. I think that Cano is very much a matchups kind of guy at times. And I think maybe he just saw something and wanted some extra physicality there to bring in a larger dude like Frank Nodarse into the mixer there. I think that's kind of what it is. Like you said, it ultimately ended up working. He played well. I mean, honestly, even Grant played well too in this game. So, I mean, you kind of got to give him the kudos there for his selection.
I don't disagree. I think it might have been a matchup, not trying to jump into the mailbag, but I also think maybe it might have had something to do with Jack Panayiotou out on the right side as that attacking midfielder / forward. He was kind of roaming all on the right side. Maybe Nodarse knows his game a bit better than Sanchez does. Sanchez has never seen him in league play. At least I don't think he has. I know Rivera has. I don't think Sanchez has. So it could have been a better matchup and lineup for that. The other one, though, Quizera obviously is going to return to the starting 11. We had asked ourselves, Amos Shapiro-Thompson or Augustine Rodriguez, thinking Leo Afonso would potentially return to his rightful spot on the other side of that attacking midfield trio. not the case. AST stays in the center, and it's Pity who's out on the wing, inverting and rotating with Quizera throughout the match. Thoughts on Afonso and why we're seeing him, I don't want to say relegated to super sub, but is this more because we don't have a backup striker with Dorsey gone, or is this just that this was the right play for Rodriguez to come into this game?
I think we've seen some good minutes there between AST and Rodriguez. So I think he's trying to kind of develop that right there. And despite Leo getting the goal, I think he's been a bit wasteful with his chances. I wonder if he's trying. So him, let's say, being slightly out of form despite scoring a goal, maybe coach is just trying to kind of rotate, keep them fresh, and kind of keep that offense potent.
Interesting thoughts. I wonder if there's something else to what he sees in what he needs for 65 minutes versus what he needs to close down games. Obviously, at the time Afonso gets substituted in, it's only a 2-1 game. It's not like we've ran away with it yet. Rodriguez, there's a question about him too on his contributions so far. We'll talk about that a little later, but I don't hate it, and obviously it worked on the night. It's just weird that this isn't the best starting 11 we had been saying all season, and yet this is a starting 11 that's capable of going out, only allowing one against them, and it was a good enough goal on Loudoun's side to they earned it, but then us getting 4 on this team, that's something we've again never done in the history of Rhode Island FC is win.
We saved all those goals from those 0-0 matches, cashed them all in at once.
It's just so then I'll ask this question: is this the best starting 11?
I don't know. It at this point, I thought what we previously established as the best starting 11 was, but then we saw Amity Jope maybe have a slight kind of dip there. Then he's also potentially injured, so we don't know what's going on.
He's got to be injured at this point, unless he just went home to Senegal to watch all of the matches for the World Cup, and he's just been a super fan for the entirety of the time. He's got to be injured.
Yeah, so it's tough to say with the evolution of the squad. I think it could be close to it. I still think that while Grant Stoneman can clearly still do a job for us, I think our best starting lineup maybe doesn't have him in there. He's definitely like the B+, like A- kind of version of the squad. So it's very close though.
All right, who are your heroes and zeros of this match?
I've given a lot of praise to JJ, and clearly he is a monster, but I want to give a shout out to Nick Scardina. We questioned whether or not he was we initially thought he was part on the team lock on. Then he was clearly not, and now he's back in. So he had a good game there. Took his goal well. So nice to see. Zero, did you see how many of the Tartan Army were
at the Red
Sox game?
Yeah.
Imagine if we actually had a game this weekend. How many? I mean, clearly on Saturday it wouldn't have worked because there was a game then. But if it was, a Friday or a Sunday or something,
and I think that's the biggest oof from the team specifically is they knew enough of the World Cup schedule at that point. They knew that the Tartan Army was coming. A lot of fans have asked, and in fact, even Redditors for that just are on the Rhode Island and Providence Reddits. They don't represent the club. They're fans, or they're lukewarm fans. It's something to go do. They're not Defiance members. And even they were saying it's a shame we don't have a Rhode Island FC game so that you could come and watch us, because they would have shown up just to watch local soccer. And that would have been a sellout game because there's at least 5,000 to 10,000 of them around the Providence area. It is a big miss on behalf of the club to not get a game that then was also not conflicting with any of the World Cup matches. Maybe that's a day game where it's, an 11 a.m. game on a Saturday, or it's a 1 o'clock game on, I don't remember the earliest ones. I think Friday's games started at 3. Do a 1 o'clock game on Friday. That, I don't have all the answers in this world, but
for instance, for Saturday,
the first
game was 3 p.m. You could have had a 1 o'clock game or something.
I don't know for the Tartan Army. They were already at Boston Stadium at 4 o'clock.
But even if it wasn't for that, I mean, you could kind of
still
with the buzz that is maybe in a more soccer centric city like Providence, it could have worked.
Yeah, I agree with that. My hero's JJ Williams. He just did too much in this game. He even had an offside goal and another assist that was called back. So, to me, this guy is exactly where we need him. We need him to stay hot. We need him to stay healthy now more than ever. but you got to give JJ his praise. I'm going to go the opposite of not having the Tartan Army see a game. I'm going to just say having Loudoun play this game directly at the Brazil's time. Like, of all the games to probably go for where this country is invested in, it can't be Brazil. Like, you could have slotted this game at a different time within the day and had maybe a different outcome. There was only probably 200 fans at that stadium. So that's the 0. Loudoun gets the 0. But wanting to get into the goals, break down the kind of first and second halves here. We've talked at length that this team needs to start becoming a first half goal scoring machine. Over 90% of their goals so far this season, it's a trend that continues, are coming in the second half of matches. It's a great thing to see in the opening. But before we even get there, I had a panic attack in this game. We see Jack P miss an open net in the first 90 seconds of the match, and then 5 seconds later, Grant Stoneman assassinates Frank Nodarce with a kick to the back of the head from a ball, of course. But like, we felt so discombobulated in those first 5 minutes. The early impressions were this is our boogeyman. This is a team that's going to destroy us. It
was definitely a rough start, and you were starting to think, oh, this could be a long night here. Maybe I'm just going to turn this off, see what Vinny's doing over there. But we got a first half goal there. I mean, that was a great throw in there from Clay, a redirect there from Bacharach, and Williams is there. And I mean, within the first 30 minutes, it puts us in a great position there.
We have talked at length that Rhode Island FC does not really have the ability to chase down games, because what happens when they get scored on first, the other team sets up the low block, they start getting compact, they don't try to score multiple goals against us, and then if anything, they have a breakout counter as we continue to try to find new creative options to break past these defenses. We've seen it in every game that we go behind initially in. Starting with this level of intent, it set the narrative that Loudoun might have looked good in the first 5 minutes, but for the rest of the first half, they were not looking good at all. They felt disjointed in much of their attack. It felt like Erlinson and Abukara came back too early in these games. Like, they weren't really ready to play a full 90, and it felt like they still hadn't gotten their legs back under them from the talent that we've seen in the past. And so, yeah, it's no surprise Williams getting that header. It's what he does best in this league. Fun facts about the header, by the way, it's his 9th goal of the year across all comps, 6th in the regular season. He's now, not only has he surpassed all of the records, right? He's the highest goal scoring player on the team. We've talked about that at length. But what's interesting, he's already eclipsed his 2025 season high when you look at all comps. So it's kind of crazy to think about what he's already done when he's healthy and we don't have these prolonged injuries. We have to keep him there. Bacharach, of course, getting his first assist of the season. It's his second total career assist there. And then that's kind of the first half, Jay. That's where we see things. We're on a good feeling. But we also know this Loudoun team.
After that first, obviously they score the goal there, but after that first kind of scare, they start to grow into the game and really kind of put themselves in a good position to kind of deal with anything that Loudoun was throwing at them.
I mean, surprisingly, though, Nick Scardina getting the 40th minute goal, we're getting right into the second half, and it's just right away, punch in the nose. Like, getting those early goals, doing that damage, it changes the way Loudoun has to play. Thoughts on how Scardina scored that goal?
What I loved about this goal was that after the overlap run, he stayed in the box there. So he was in a dangerous position.
We never see that from our outside backs, right?
It does feel like too often our team is too far back and not there to kind of get those easy tap-ins there.
The Chico tap-in merchant goals, as we used to hear all the time. No, it's fantastic. Scardina could have easily recycled. How many times do those fullbacks, they go out wide, they send the cross, or they recombine with a two-person system to then redistribute the ball, recycle it to the other side. Instead, Scardina gives it and then just goes. And we haven't lost possession of the ball yet. And he's like, I'm going to stay up here. And he's right place, right time. I think we would have scored at least 15 more goals last season had we had that second runner or that player that's not being positioned and marked as well. Because, those defenders, they're not looking for Scardina to be there. He's ran completely into a position that's not normal for them. They see him, and then it's too late. They missed the cross, the ability to block the cross, I should say. And Scardina picks it up and cleans it up. Second career goal now for RFC. Like you said, Jason, he's just getting better and better. And then, of course, Williams picking up his fourth and fifth assists of the season. Obviously, this first one, the fourth one, and then the fifth one coming a little bit later. Rhode Island FC now flying high 2-0. You think that they can't ever be touched by Loudoun again. And then, of course, Thor Ulferson touches them.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Thor's goal?
I mean, it was low right wing cross. They said they kind of earned it. He took it well, and he'd been kind of threatening us. I think for the most part, we were able to contain him. There was that free kick he took earlier on in the match too that he kind of sent down low. Koke was able to get it. So, I think ultimately it was fair for them to get one, and we kind of responded.
We did respond, but it took a while to get those responses on there.
Yeah.
From the 58th to about the 75th is when the 71st is when Leo got his goal. But in that about 15 minutes between, I noticed something, and I'm curious from your tactical mindset, because John Morrissey has crowned you the smartest person on the show. Did you notice that we transitioned from what we had in the 4-2-3-1 to a back five immediately after Thor scored that goal, and we were down to just a 1-goal difference?
Yeah, it was interesting. We rotated our wide players, Alfonso and Fuson. They're coming on for Quazera and Pitti, but Sanchez first comes on for AST, so that's kind of midfielder for winger wing back there. So definitely some kind of lineup changes there. Looking at the players they brought on, Fuson is an engine, and Alfonso's got he's technical enough that he can kind of move the ball up there pretty well up there without a lot of support. I'd say it worked. Kano's tinkering got it right in this time, with Loudoun rotating their center backs and their kind of attacking threats. Like you said, Abakura, Pangiotu in the second half, they're being taken out. There wasn't a huge kind of threat from them anymore with maybe Thor and Amon. So I think this is where he was able to kind of take control of the game there.
Yeah, I mean, if Thor's your only attacking threat and you've got 5 players, including your 3 of your center backs there ready to contain, I mean, it did kind of stifle Loudoun. They definitely had a lion's share of the possession through that 20-minute circuit, but it was all mostly, it wasn't before final third. It was very much in, the second or their own third. I do think that is something we could see more of. The thing I don't like is that it comes at the expense of Aldair Sanchez being relegated to possibly a substitute role. I don't know if Frank made enough of a case to, strip Aldair of his starting role. Again, like you said, it was kind of a match-to-match thing, but it was interesting seeing us go to a back five against the team that has one of the worst offenses in the league. That was a big shocker for me. But really quickly, I want to talk about the final 2 goals, the nails in the coffin. Afonso, 71st minute, across from Noah Fuson. It's a goal where the ball's just floating through the box. No one wants to put a foot to it. It's just rolling through. Afonso comes in from the top left corner, goes, I can bury this if no one's going to stop me. And it was a textbook goal. It's a goal that he should be scoring every time, but we've seen him not do that time and time again. How much of a confidence booster is that goal for him?
It's got to be huge. It's now his 4th career goal for RFC, and he scored off the bench in 2 straight games across all competitions. That's now Noah Fuson's their 3rd assist. Speaking of someone else kind of getting that confidence, maybe getting back to his 2024 type of season. Noah's now he's the club's all-time assist leader with 18 there. It's impressive. But beyond the stats there too, it's just good to see, 2 of the substitute wingers kind of combine and score together. And then cue another substitute here in the 89th here with Atkinson tapping in a close range cross there from Williams to kind of just seal the final nail in the coffin there.
Listen, if you're a Reyna apologist, I'm an Atkinson apologist. We can both live in these worlds together. It's a shame he couldn't do a substitute goal within 5 minutes like he normally does. But fun fact about Dwayne Atkinson, not only is it his 3rd goal of the season, it's so easy to forget that he's scored as many goals as Afonso, at least in regular season. Afonso has 1 more in time with the Prinks Cup, but it's crazy that he scored every single one of goals off of the bench, and he has the highest goals per 90 in the entirety of the league by the widest margin. He's basically who was Hartford's player last year? Was it Kyle Adams? No. Oh, who was their guy that would come in for 15 minutes and score goals last. I try not to remember Hartford stats, but he was one of the reasons like he couldn't be a player of the year was because he wasn't a starter. He wasn't getting starting minutes. And Kyle Edwards, there you go, not Adams, Kyle Edwards. That Dwayne Atkins is making a case for being that type of player across the league this season, and you love to see it. I'm curious what he could do with more time, or if just being a super sub is just the role he has to prepare to play.
Maybe it's the kind of role that kind of gets him motivated to give that little bit of extra to give us those performances. But then like you said, you wonder what does that look like for him to be able to maybe get himself some more, time out there on the pitch.
Time will tell, but we've got to go to our break. And when we return, we're going to break down the biggest storylines out of this match. Don't go anywhere. It's the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. Fans, as the weather becomes more and more unpredictable, be sure to check out 990 WBOB's weather page for all your temperature, storm, and travel info. Stay prepared for whatever Mother Nature has in store with the 990 WBOB weather page.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
The boogeyman in Loudoun is no more. We've kind of got that curse off our back. We can move on. He can't hurt you anymore.
I mean, it's almost like a tale of two different things here, right? Like, one, we finally score a goal and we finally win against Loudoun. But then the larger conversation is like, are we back? Like, is this team? We've been asked so many times in the mailbag.
We also just talked about how we could be in 11th.
But
I know what you mean, though. Like, table standings aside, like, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't look at that and just focus on form and how the team is doing, the table standings will just correct themselves eventually, right?
I'm going to pull up Nicholas Murray's power rankings right now. I didn't even do it. We are in 9th in power rankings. We went up 3 positions since the game against Loudoun. That puts us, especially when I look at the teams that are in the Western Conference listed here, that puts us in a home playoff position.
And
by Nicholas Murray, I stand
3rd highest rated statistically in FOTMOB. So I don't know what that means either, but
like, okay, consistently performance wise, like if we ask ourselves that question, are we back? Because we've gone and we've now taken down one of the final 2 giants that we have not slayed, the other one being Pittsburgh, of course. And I go and I look at some of the key details. We're outpacing our win percentage for 2024, which was arguably the better season between last year's and the first season of the club. We have a 1.4 PPG. It's not as high as 1.5 because of the because of the games in 2024. We have to, it maneuvers that Prinks Cup removal of those 4 matches. So
yeah,
the numbers are a little off, but technically on the stat lines, but then also on the results columns, we are doing better as a team than we did at this time. And for the regular season in its entirety, when we were Draw Kings right now here in this 2026 season, is this team flying higher than it ever has?
Possibly. And I think another thing to tie into that was RFC was able to snap a winless road streak here and kind of turn that into a win streak.
I was surprised when you put this in the notes. I had no idea that we were that bad at home, but then also that bad away and that good at home.
Yeah. Winless as far back as their last loss and penalties against the home team in the New England Revolution when we all traveled up to Boston Stadium to watch that. But so RFC's not seen, much success if they've been, known for this season dropping points in the Open Cup, Prinks Cup Tire, championship play. We used to be the Road Warriors, but it kind of faded, I want to say, and it was like you said, maybe we're back. Maybe this is us kind of turning the screw there, if you will.
And I think on top of that, it kind of dovetails perfectly into talking about why we haven't seen back-to-back wins yet this season. The league there's enough schedule parity that it's usually 1 home, 1 away. If you do have a midweek game, normally you'll be favored for 2 home matches that week, so it minimizes the travel. If we've been that bad on the road, then of course we won't normally have seen any kind of consistency in that momentum. It's a lot of start and then stop, a lot of start then stop. I mean, look at how we've played since the Lexington game where we won 3-1. win. Then we lose in pens in the Open Cup to New England. Then we win Charleston at home. Then we travel to Hartford. We again go to penalties. We win that one, but it's a loss. It's not at least a win, I should say. Come home, we lose to Birmingham. Then we draw to Tampa Bay the next time. Then we lose to Portland, Hearts of Pine, and then we win against Brooklyn. So you'd think, okay, momentum again. Nope, we're going to lose to Indy 11 on the road. We're going to come home. We're going to beat Westchester, and now we've beaten Loudoun. I know some people are going to say, hey, that's a Prinks Tires Cup game. That's not a back-to-back yet. There needs to be better momentum than beating a USL 1 team. But remember what Clay told us, sometimes these games become just momentum builders. Like the Rhode Island FC knows they may not, and they probably won't advance out of Prinks Tires Cups. They're going to use these matches as tune-ups to continue to improve their form and be the best version of themselves. So in that regard, I think it does count. But still, the first time in the season that we put 2 back-to-back games together and victories and getting 3 points, I think that's got to be a bigger statement than just, oh, it's a USL 1 side that you whooped on and then you beat a pretty deflated Loudoun. It doesn't matter. We drew to Sporting Jacks. It does not matter.
And I mean, part of the reason this is happening is because apparently we are in our goals galore era. I mean, it's perfectly tying into folklore night when it comes later on in the season. I think we're doing that again, right?
I think we already did it, buddy. I think we already did folklore
this year.
I don't know. The theme nights mean nothing to me at this point. The results are all. In fact, the theme nights only mean something because we typically don't win theme nights. That's the reason why theme nights don't matter. But yes, you're right. Rhode Island FC is in its goals galore era. Pulling up the stats, last 4 games, all competitions, we've outscored opponents 11-3, and we've scored at least 3 goals in 3 of the last 4 matches. Jason, I went and looked. We have won every game this season across all comps by 3 goals or more. So it's like when we're on and we're winning, the goals cometh. When we're not doing good, or maybe we've been scored on first, the reservoir dries up a little bit. But we have the 3rd most goals in the league right now. We have the 4th most shots. We've started to dip down. Louisville's been eclipsing us a little bit there. We have a positive 6 or +6 goal differential. That's 2nd best in the league. And we are in 9th place and outside of playoffs right now. Make that make sense.
It's wild. I don't know if you can. I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier here. Nick Scardina making his presence known on the pitch to the fans. He's starting to make, a lot of work there. He's been doing on the defensive side too, which is huge for this team, because we've seen a slight dip in our defensive performance compared to the previous years,
which is probably what's keeping us in a 9th place position. And Coque Vegas only 2 clean sheets so far this season. There's a stat that we're going to pull up here in its completion. A user or a fan, reached out and asked the question about, but I think it's probably our defense has slipped a bit to get this better offensive production. And the worst part is, Jason, this is exactly what we asked for. We talked and said, we want more goals. We want more exciting games. We don't care about clean sheets. And now we're not in a playoff position.
The only part that, like you said, just doesn't make any sense is when you look at the table standings. But like I'm enjoying watching the goals flow. But back to Scardina here real quick. And speaking of goals, the offensive aspect that he's bringing to the game is pushed him into a top 5 fullback in the league with half as many starts because of the limited amount of minutes that he's played.
Do you know who leads the league in offensive production as a fullback in this league right now?
Is it a certain left back?
From? If it's not Rhode Island, in case that's what you were thinking. I want it to always be Aldair Sanchez, but it is a former Rhode Island left back.
Oh yeah, of course. Charleston's one and only.
Nathan Messer, Charleston's only. No, I agree. And listen, you're so right though about talking about Scardina's growth and how fans have now started to codify him and really get behind what he is doing for this team. It's interesting because it always goes back to immediately what they were talking about with Logan Dorsey leaving the squad in the last conversation we had with Kano, where he said, hey, we've lost a player, but I'm only going to upgrade if it's an upgrade. I'm not going to go get a player just because we're a body short on the head count on the roster. This feels kind of like that thing too. Last year we had Frank Nadarce flying on the right side. We had Danny Rivera returning to health. And when we got Scardina, we remember Charlotte FC fans were reaching out and saying, "Oh, he's the greatest player ever. You're so lucky to get him." That's always a good sign, right? Versus like, "Oh, good luck. He didn't work out for us." Now we're seeing that upgrade like come true, right? It's paying its dividends. I always wonder like what other positions he's looking at to give it like the Nick Scardina effect. Because if Nick Scardina continues on this trajectory, he's going to be a top player. He should be in the running for at least one of the internal Rhode Island FC player stats of the year, as long as he continues to start. He's going to have to get more starts to do that. Want to ask this question then before we go to the mailbag. We talked a minute ago about Afonso's impact now off the bench as a super sub, 2 goals in 2 games. We talked about the impact Busy Atkinson is having in his season, 3 goals now, all coming from the bench. Is this going to be a battle of the super subs? Like, is this something we're going to have to start watching? Is Afonso going to be relegated to this role for the near future?
It's possible. I think part of it, and someone mentioned in a question here in the mailbag, kind of, I think it also maybe depends on how Pitti continues to perform. I don't think he's been bad in any way, shape, or form, but maybe the contributions that some of us expected him to be like putting up those numbers haven't really come just yet.
Is it selfish of me to say this isn't a bad problem to have? Because if you have quality options coming off like Afonso, Poussin, and Atkinson, and they're all contributing to a goal or an assist to keep again, we've seen 90% of the goals come in the second half, whether that's them or them helping influence it. To me, this just says like, if we can wear a team down, these guys will be primed to go and do the most maximum lethal damage they possibly can.
Yeah, no, it is a great problem to have, honestly.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, we got to go to the mailbag. And when we return, we're going to answer your questions, whether they're hot takes or burning things that you need to know. Don't go anywhere. It is the Raising Anchor Soccer Show.
Now, let's get back to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show on 990 WBOB with Matt Entrican and Jason Carey.
All right. Lisa V wants to know whether the chicken or the egg came first. Was it the USMT game scheduled first, or was Bill Burr scheduled?
I'd assume it was the U.S. men's national team game, as that schedule came out back in December, I think is when we did the draw. January.
That sounds right. Sure.
I don't know, but I certainly know it was not Bill Burr. I think, you probably have to look at a comedian's schedule. That's the spot that he had available. And listen, I heard a lot of complaints about it. I also heard some really good things about it. It feels like Centerville Bank Stadium is going to have to fight the identity of one being a soccer specific stadium, but how they coordinate and educate people on their first time coming to that stadium. We all know the pain points of trying to get into the stadium, whether it's the march to the match, finding parking in the local community area, and how all of that works. Go back to like game 1 and remember how awkward it was and how difficult it was. Now imagine someone who's never gone to that stadium before. It's not a great experience. They have to continue to work on that. It will get better with time. They had to learn a lot of lessons too. But from what I'm hearing, it was an overall success. Probably it's still disappointing about the soccer like lack thereof. Tim M added a caveat to it and said, I wonder if the more relevant question is whether or not there's a significant enough overlap between Bill Burr and soccer fans that led to anything in the attendance or the fact that it didn't sell out. It was still pretty close to a sellout. But I think that's the other part too. Centerville Bank Stadium wants to distinguish themselves as a multi-entertainment experience and venue. So like, it's not always going to be soccer. Just because it's our dojo, we have to be okay with the idea that some things are going to come there that some of the soccer fans won't be interested in, right? Like we'll probably go through the same experience with the Rhode Island Vibes summer reggae tour that's coming through. Like I don't imagine that's a 1-to-1 for every soccer fan that's hitting the streets there.
Yeah, I don't know if there was enough people who would have gone that really would have made it worth their time to kind of move that event. Nate here saying USA, any African team or Netherlands, what percentage of a chance to win it all? I know the favorites, but these teams specifically he's thinking of.
I mean, if you want USA, any African team or Netherlands, I would say USA is like 10%. And that feels really good to say after watching that 4-1 victory, Nate. African teams, Morocco is my dark horse, especially after holding Brazil hostage in a draw like that. I think Morocco is going to very much do a similar thing that what we saw last time around and probably get to the quarterfinals. And then Netherlands, I mean, they looked good. Japan looked just as good. I think it's going to come down to where they end up on the bracket based on positioning and who they have to run into first. So in terms of winning it all, I've got Morocco still as the team, especially out of this category. Do you have any different
If we
opinion?
were to just throw in another African team there, Senegal is going to be good. I don't know if they're going to go the distance, but I think they're going to give people some trouble. I think Ghana's got too many kind of midfield and injury issues. So I don't know how well they're going to do.
I thought you were going to be an Ivory Coast homer over here.
Well, I love my boy Yaya Toure, but he also doesn't play for them anymore because he's retired. So I don't know. I look at that team and I think there's some talent there, but they're kind of young. So I'll be watching them, but I don't think they're going to get too deep into this tournament.
Still going to buy their kit?
Oh, it's a beautiful kit. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty broke from this World Cup. I don't know if I can afford this.
Everyone send a donation to Jason Carey's Venmo so that he can buy his Ivory Coast Adidas kit. Oh no, it's Puma kit. Actually, it's actually pretty cheap if I remember going and looking. Dave here has a question, but it's not a question. It's a statement. All of my questions were answered at Fan Zone tonight and then some.
I smoked Vienna sausages. I don't know. Mike M here says a casual asked me at a USA watch party if the US had a chance of winning. I told him this game, yes, but the World Cup, no, not even a chance. It would be like the 1980s hockey team. Was I wrong in saying that?
You were wrong in saying that because we need to be able to make the movie afterwards and then the spin-off Mighty Ducks equivalent when a bunch of street kids get together to play street soccer and then end up at like the Olympics in the U15s. Listen, I don't like 0% anything. There's always, that's the beauty of the World Cup. Is it likely? No, but not even a chance, Mike. I mean, come on, get some rose-tinted glasses on and just believe for a second. Don't make us sing the chant that everyone hates to see get sung at watch parties these days, because I will make you sing it at the next time we hang out until you believe. So yeah, no, believe 5%. Why not? I said 10 a second ago. Why not?
Yeah, I think there's context in there. Like you said, it's unlikely, but it's not impossible.
I'll tell you this. If there was a team that's going to do it, it would probably be this team right now, at least in comparison to like the 2014 generation of players up till now. We're the best we've been in a very long time. And so if it's going to be a group, I don't see why it couldn't be these guys. Joe P writes in, well, guys, we are on a hot streak. Too bad we have a break now. Let's hope we don't lose this momentum when we play a tough Orange County team on the 4th. Enjoy attending your World Cup games. I attended the quarterfinal in 1994 between Italy and Spain. It is an experience you will never forget. Anyways, go USA.
Always great insight from Joe there. Thank you. Mike S says, saw the video complaining RAFC doesn't celebrate goals. Thoughts?
I don't even want to give this fuel to the fire. This person
don't go look this up, because
don't go chasing waterfalls.
You don't need to be giving this guy clicks.
I won't say their name, but there's a salacious USL video maker, and all they do is make hot takes and like challenge the status quo. His claim is that Rhode Island FC doesn't celebrate its goals and then therefore ruins the fan experience and sours the overall USL league because we're not bringing enough emotion into it. I don't agree with it. I've never heard a single Rhode Island FC fan complain. I've have several reels of pictures from Dan Chase, as well as our photographers on the Blazing Musket, of this team celebrating goals. So maybe it's not the extravagant, flamboyant World Cup celebrations, but it's not supposed to be. And you know what? Even if they're not celebrating goals, I'll take the +6 goal differential and the second best attack we have in the league if they just want to keep it a little humble. I'm completely fine with that. So I don't know where this person's coming from, and they need to not comment about our team unless they're there in person, is my thoughts.
Yeah.
Adam Z writes in, Loudoun had 200 people at the stadium tops. Are they that poorly attended, or was this World Cup related? If that's attendance, no way they survive as a club. Also, schedule your game at any time other than Brazil's kickoff.
Yeah, they reported 1,500. It did not look like 1,500. This Loudoun team has had kind of some attendance issues.
Didn't they have like 900 for their home opener against Miami?
Probably something like that. So I also don't think that it's the smartest idea to have a league run during a global tournament. especially when it's in your own country. But what are you going to do?
Again, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show, though. Like, if you could find a way to do a morning game or a 12 o'clock noon game, and then that way people could watch the other events, like the other matches, like, okay, fine. There's room enough to do it, but to compete against arguably what was supposed to be one of the biggest duels in the World Cup so far, like, kind of everyone was saying, like, the games to watch were going to be USA, Paraguay, Brazil, Morocco, and Netherlands, Japan. As far as, like, competency level, like, that's a tough sell. And you've known for months that game was going to be competing with it. So I don't know. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Sharon K says, heard you mention at the fan zone that Hartford got in trouble, but couldn't hear the whole story. Can you explain? Love the show.
Sharon, I was thinking back on this, and I wish I knew which day. I think this is the Hartford. So I'm going to say it. If this isn't the right one, I apologize. But Hartford got in trouble because they were scheduling a watch party for either the first game of the World Cup or it was the U.S. men's national team game. And they made this big old production of saying, come register tickets, like get free tickets, come watch the game at Trinity Health Stadium. Right before the match, they had to cancel the event. They offered free tickets to a future Hartford athletic match. And it all came down to the fact that the FIFA Gestapo saw and found out that they were having a watch party, and that's not something you can do, because we were asking these same questions of Rhode Island FC and saying, hey, like, is there going to be watch party integrations and coordination? And they said, we cannot do that because of sponsorship conflicts. We would have to wrap our stadium the same way these World Cup sites are doing it. We have different vendors for drinks and food and all that stuff. We cannot do it, especially because they operate within the same soccer worlds. It's a big no-no. I don't know if that's the entirety of the truth. That's just part of the story that I've heard. And so, yes, Hartford got hurt so hard by this, but they got like FIFA slapped, that the rest of the USL said, nope, not even going to mess around with this. So if you're a USL fan and you're doing some sort of activation for World Cup, just keep it on the down low. I think James in the Discord had mentioned, don't use the hashtags, don't talk about it online, and just go enjoy some, I guess, I don't know, physical piracy of World Cup matches. I don't know how else to say it, but that's the Hartford story I think you're looking for. If it's something else, let me know, and we'll keep telling you Hartford tales in the near future, I guess. Rachel H writes in, why is Nodarse at left back?
I think, kind of like I mentioned earlier, I think it was very much a kind of tactical decision by coach. And we've also seen that Nodarse can kind of play anywhere in that back line. I think it worked out. I think we'll obviously, with how Sanchez has been, how great he's been this season, though, like, he'll be back in the squad. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Stacy L says, is JJ a contender for Golden Boot?
Would have said yes until we saw Darren Smith score 5 goals against Sporting Jacks this weekend alongside Detroit City FC, tied the record that's been in place since 2013 in the USL. Like, talk about history right there. So now he's 5 goals behind the Golden Boot in Darren Smith. Obviously, Darren Smith is not going to put up 5-goal performances, and they've played Sporting Jacks twice. So, you know, JJ's gotten several hat tricks in the past for us. So maybe when it's Sporting Jacks' turn next time around, maybe he can catch up. Do I think he's a contender? Yes, absolutely. I think that maybe even Quizera, if he can start getting some additional momentum, he could do it. 2 other wingers in Quizera's role, and probably not as often. But there's no reason to think a healthy JJ couldn't at least be top 3 or even that dangerous of a close of a contender for Golden Boot. Brian R, do we think Pitty will get 10 goal contributions this season still?
I don't know. And I was just kind of mentioned this a little earlier. I think he's maybe somewhere in that 5 to 8 range. I think he only has 2 assists
2
right
so
now.
far, yeah.
So it's tough to see it if he turns it on the right time and kind of, you know, pads the stats like Darren Smith there. Maybe he could get close.
I mean, think about too, like, and maybe we'll see more of it now as he's getting pushed out wider and wider in the midfield. Like, those roles have not always been glamorous when it comes to those types of stats. Like, think back to Marky Barr. We called him the trash man because it wasn't his goal contributions, it was his defensive work. Hugo Bacharach only now getting his 2nd assist in club history with his time with Rhode Island FC. Clay's usually only good for maybe 5 goal contributions a season.
Yeah.
But you can't deny the work that he does on and off the ball. Amos Shapiro-Thompson, same thing. So, like, I think, if anything, the wing might give him more flexibility to get some assists, maybe even goals. But I wouldn't diminish what he does when he's on the pitch because he's not getting those contributions to pad his stats.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Eric N says, statement win to get past Loudoun finally. Should we be concerned that we only have 2 clean sheets so far when we had 14 last season?
So this is the stat. So when we talk about why we're not winning games, it's not necessarily related to this, although letting in a couple of these goals has taken us from 3 points to just 1. I don't care as much about clean sheets as much as I care about the way we concede goals. And I don't think there's been a ton of times this season. Like, think back to the first 5 games of 2025 when we were just getting like embarrassed in set piece defense. We asked ourselves multiple times, like, what is this team doing? Why are they so like stiff and static? Why aren't they like continuing to shut down spaces? I think that sometimes the goals that come against us are just good goals. I also think that there's been a couple of deflections that have not gone our way where second balls have bounced right into the position of an oncoming runner, and like we're out of position. Like, a lot of times Kana will throw players and throw numbers forward to try to get back into games, and then we just get punished. You know, we've only lost a couple games by like just 1 goal. Usually when we start getting the game, it kind of gets away from us, or like we get away from the game. And so I don't know, like, do you think clean sheets should matter this much? Like, they just don't matter to me, other than giving Koke Vegas a reason to stay and get a bigger contract.
Yeah. As long as the result is there ultimately, and like you said, we're not it's the way that we give up goals. If we're giving up really poor, lazy goals like that, then I would start to be concerned. I think we'll see potentially as this team goes into its second half, we'll probably pick up a few more and maybe he'll get closer to 10 or something like that.
Agree. Programming note, we're going to be off for the next couple of weeks now as Rhode Island FC takes both their bye week and their mental health week break. We do have player interviews lined up for you guys, so you will hear from some of the players as well as some other special guests during that time. So the next interview will be with defender Amity Jope next Monday, and then I'll let you guys find out the rest as we go. And we'll pick up programming right before the 4th of July game on July 3rd, previewing Orange County, and then we're going to be on the soccer cast for Orange County as well as have them on. So go enjoy Iran and New Zealand and enjoy the World Cup. We will catch up with all of you on Discord and all the other places you can find us, and have a great first couple of weeks of the World Cup.
We'll see you all soon. Thanks for joining us. Anchors up.
Anchors up.
You've been listening to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show. You can follow the show on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and TikTok at RIFC Podcast and at Raising Anchor on Instagram. And be sure to check out and subscribe to Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you listen by searching for Raising Anchor. Make sure to check out all of our coverage over at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RAFC news at theblazingmusket.com. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask you to be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the show. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm your main man, Juju, and on behalf of the Raising Anchor crew, goodbye for now. And as always, we are Rhode Island FC.